Hello. Hope everyone is doing well. We are going to have quite the interesting discussion today, I think, because this is some things are just getting out of hand. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with the world, but I don't know if it's 2020. People are still just stuck in or what. I don't know what it is. But people are losing their minds, and I think we need to just have a discussion. We need to have a come to Jesus meeting. So, let's see who's in the chat. Billy Duncan is here. Hello. He asked about pictures and putting a face to my voice. I actually do. If you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I do occasionally post pictures, usually around like the holidays. I'll do like a holiday picture around my favorite holidays. So if you follow me on there, you'll see me. And I do have some highlights and stuff on Instagram, so that's there. Whether I will go live, I'm still like on camera, I'm still debating. But I may. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. It's a possibility. Maybe I'll do it for members only. We'll see. I haven't set that up yet either, by the way. But I do have, and I should promote this better, I actually do have a Discord now. And I should probably put the Discord link in the chat. So hold 1 second. I'm so bad at self-promotion. I'm so terrible at it. But I do have a Discord. It's very new. And, it's a work in progress. But you can certainly go there, have fun. There's like a room for memes and there's a room for music. So hopefully y'all get a chance to check that out. I'm putting it in the Discord. In the chat, the link for that. So now that that's out of the way, hello. Speaker for the Dead, hello. He says good morning. Good morning. Fenrir the Ice Wolf, hello and good morning. Billy Duncan's in Scotland. It's afternoon there, late afternoon. That is awesome. I love Scotland. I want to visit so bad. Scotland and Ireland are definitely on my list of places I need to get to. So Leibowitz, the agent to the stars. Hello. He says, good morning, young lady. Good morning. The chat jumped on me. Let's see. There's so many people here today. Speaker for the Dead says, what's the first topic today, Jayne? The first topic is going to be the Captain America one. Now, I only have 2 topics ready because I think the second one about cancel culture is going to be a little bit long. But the first one's going to be really kind of short, kind of fun-ish, just to give us some time for people to get in for the main topic. But it's going to be the new Captain America person. And I have some things to say about that. Dan Rodwell, hello. And let's see. We have Snortapopus, Cuber. Hello, humans and other critters. Hello. Cross Purposes has grabbed the coffee. Good morning. Let's see. Yes. Dan, there was a redesign. Billy Duncan, I don't know if Anna's done a redesign of this one, but I hope she does. I think it'll be cool. The world is burning. The stupid is spreading like wildfire. Keely Chow, hello. And Roger H is here. Thank you for the super sticker. It is a red thumbs up. Thank you so much. Julie Dawkins says, yes, let's focus. Cancel culture was canceled. Sorry. It needs to be. It needs to be canceled. But let's get to our first topic. I'm going to share my screen. And it's going to be this new Marvel, new Black female Captain America. Now, here's the problem. So the whole idea, and I'm going to get into the article, but just a quick overview. The whole idea is that in this United States of Captain America series, Cap has lost his shield or something along those lines. And all of these random people who basically dressed up like cosplayers, have taken on the responsibility of being the Captain America in their cities or their communities. And so if you remember, not too long ago, we were introduced to a quote-unquote gay Captain America by the name of Aaron Fisher, I think. But this was the one we were introduced not too long ago, who everybody talked about how incredibly stereotypical this dude is. I mean, look at this shield. It's like a trash can lid. He has the bandana. It's very... Why? Like, why would you do this to any character? It just doesn't make any sense. But now they've gone and done the same thing, predictably, to a Black female character. And it's why. It's annoying and it's terrible. How she's designed is absolutely ridiculous. But let's get into your reactions to this, because I was just shocked. I was shocked, and then I wasn't. I was shocked at how badly drawn she was and how badly constructed she is as a character, but at the same time, I'm not shocked at all, because we got Safe Space in the other one. I don't even remember its name. But this is what they do. They don't even try. Gay meaning happy? Well, he looks happy. No, just no. Finver the Ice Wolf says, I bet this was made for cosplayers, but joke's on them. Most cosplayers have tastes and standards, so they're not going to use this. It's most likely be cosplayers they pay off. And that's the thing. It's like, you look at cosplayers, and they do such an incredible job of recreating these characters, either imitating them or completely giving them their own twist. I don't know why artists today, if they can't draw, if they just don't have talent, just get your favorite cosplayer as inspiration and go from there. It just doesn't make any sense. Finner says, of course they did this again. It's not like they do this over and over again with shitty costumes and bad character personalities. Dude, Marvel Comics is dead. Snortapoopas Cuber says, some nefarious ne'er-do-well still have her tights. Billy Dawkins says, I feel quite gay today, rather upbeat and happy. I'm so glad you do. They're kicking a corpse at this point. More woke propaganda. But can they do it better? Like, I'm at this point where I don't even care about the messaging. Can you just make it look good? Just make it look good. Can you do that even? Can the artwork look better? Why do you have to be so bad at storytelling and design? Can you pick a single struggle? These are the questions that I have. That's all. It doesn't make any sense. What cross purposes? What's your superpower? Batman, I'm rich. Captain America, I'm Black and female. I'm a strong Black woman. That's it. That's the whole thing. And of course, Of course, they have to make her all bulky. And now I will say, in this picture, at least she has like a chest. You can tell she's a woman, but her face is more masculine. And there's another photo out there, another drawing, I'm sorry, where she has like a man's body, like a boy's body. It's just so weird that they have to do this every single time. It's just ridiculous. Speaker for the Dead says, I just can't draw. I wish I could. For that reason, I don't draw because I refuse to ruin things I care about with shitty art. Oh. Finrear the Ice Wolf says, look, there are fans that with $50 can make better and accurate live action depictions than the billion-dollar companies. This is just sad. Billy Duncan says, I have a strong pint of gin here. Would I qualify as a superhero? Probably so. Why not? Why not at this point? So, according to this article, Marvel Comics will introduce Nichelle Wright. That's her name. She's a new black female version of Captain America in the upcoming United States of Captain America series. This is her. This is her. Square jaw. I don't understand. At least she has a chest and she has a waist. She has a figure. Like this version of her does look like a woman, at least, even though her face is kind of masculine. But other than that, this is what they have for her. This is one depiction. And according to the article, Marvel Comics is set to introduce a brand new black female Captain America who will make their comics debut. Wait a minute. Is she non-binary? Anytime they do this their thing, it throws me off. I don't know where they're going with this. Why not just say a brand new black female Captain America who will make her comics debut? Are we doing the pronoun thing? Are we really doing that in this article? Okay. The United States of Captain America #2, Nichelle Wright will be the next hero to become the Captain America of her own city because every city needs one. Every city. But she will be framed for a crime she didn't commit. Of course she's a criminal. Oh my God. This is Batwoman all over again. Do you see why I'm at a point where, and I'm a black woman. I'm black, right? You see why I just don't want representation at all? I'm just like, don't even. Just stop already. Just don't. It's okay. Just leave black people out of it for a while. Just a couple years. Because this continues to be the pattern. So she's a strong black woman, right? She's big and bulky. Either her face is masculine or her body, depending on the artwork that you're looking at. And she's a criminal. I just can't. I cannot. I'm all out of cans. This is insane. This is insane, people. Let's check out the chat again. I can't even get... I don't even understand. So Leibowitz says, Black America has resting Batwoman's face. She does. Those ugly boots. And that's the thing. She's mad. She's angry, right? She has this little frowned up face, of course. And the boots are terrible. What is she supposed to do in those things? What is she supposed to do in those boots? I don't know. I do not know. Billy Duncan says, burn, burn, I say. The world's on fire with stupid. Finrear the Ice Wolf says, and why though? Why do those black characters always look mad and sad with everything? Like they've never seen joy. Same thing for the other female characters from other races, even aliens. Yeah, they always look angry and upset, mad, bitter. It's like, can they just be happy? They're saving the world, right? They're heroes. What happened to that? What happened to inspirational heroes, hopeful heroes? And here's the thing. Okay, I don't mind heroes sometimes having stories that start in a dark place and move forward. And we'll get into this a little bit later too when we get to when they start talking about the other Captain Americas. I don't mind that entirely. The problem that I have is when they stay there. Like, I liked Man of Steel, for example. I do like a dark take on Superman, but even in that film, you see the turn that's happening, the twist. He's growing. He's becoming more sure of himself, more confident in who he is and his abilities and his purpose. As long as there's growth, as long as there's this arc, this character arc, the concept that people have forgotten about, a character arc towards happiness, joy, hope, inspiration. I don't mind if they have a dark time, if they go through something. But it seems like with these characters, that's all they embody. And how is this a light in the darkness to anyone? How is this a hero? How depressed do you have to be as a creator for your heroes to all be angry and bitter and mad? And I don't even know if what's happening is that that's a reflection of who they are as the creators, or whether this is a projection, whether this is just the image or the stereotype that these industries and these corporations want to continue to promote, because we can't look at it out of context. In context, they've historically drawn Black characters and created Black characters terribly. They don't know how to write them. I've said this before. They don't know how to draw them. And I just wonder if it's a continuation of that, or whether this is part of this new generation of just making everything dark and terrible and depressing. I don't know. Maybe it's a perfect storm of both. But we really need to stop. It's getting out of hand. I'm tired of it. Billy Duncan says, I identify as a seahorse. You can. There's someone now who identifies as a tree. There's a guy who identifies as an actual tree. So why not? Dan Rodwell says, have we ever seen the reverse in a Marvel comic where one of the Black superheroes are race, gender, or sexuality swapped to a straight white male? I don't believe so. I don't believe so, nor do I believe they have different iterations of them like that. No, they haven't. Falcon, I believe. What are they doing with Falcon? Is there going to be a new Falcon who's I know on the TV show it seems like they're setting up a new Falcon who's that kid. I'm not sure what his racial or gender preference, whatever, I don't know. Whatever the PC thing is. I don't know what he's actually supposed to be. But if it may be that they're passing the torch of the Falcon on to someone else. But I just have a problem with this. I don't think it's necessary to continue to do this. And I say this as someone who I don't have a problem in theory with parallel characters. I think it's kind of lazy. I think that I would much prefer to see new characters. I would rather see new characters with new strengths, with new weaknesses, with new backstories, characters that are interesting, that have their own powers. And it's almost like there's this lack of creativity these days. And it's not new. It didn't just start. But I don't need offshoots and, it just gets tiring after a while. I would much rather see something fresh. And to be honest, when it comes to Black characters specifically, to me, it makes more sense it kind of is insulting to just say, okay, we're going to have a new Captain America. Let's make this person black, or um, whatever. It doesn't. Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to have a black Superman? Even in an alternate universe, the only version of this, the only approach to this I would accept would be the child or the familial relationship approach. Having the person's kid take up their mantle, like we saw it, or possibly or seeing with Black Canary. I don't even know. I think she's in Birds of Prey. She's supposed to be Black Canary's daughter. That's my theory. I don't know if it is or isn't true. But I would much rather, if you're going to do it, I would much rather it be the child of the person. But they don't even, like Nick Fury. I think he's supposed to be the son or grandson of the real or original Nick Fury. That makes more sense. But the problem is, and the reason why they won't do that is because it fits too closely into the category of normal, traditional, old-fashioned relationships and gender norms. So they're not going to introduce these characters that way. They're not going to make logical sense. It's just, let's just swap them. Let's just have them find the costume in the trash next to their van down by the river in the case of Batwoman. It's silly, it's stupid. And then to double down on it, they have to make them terrible characters. And this is the thing I talk about a lot on my channel. They don't just race swap. That would be bad enough. That would be bad enough all by itself. That would have all of the issues you can think of attached to it. But they always have to make them worse. So in this case, this new girl, this new Captain America who's taken up the mantle for her city, isn't just a black female Captain America. She's also a wanted criminal because they think she's a thief. This is the exact same story for the CW's Batwoman. This is the exact same. So why? I just don't get it. I'm ranting, but it's because I'm fed up with it. I don't understand why this is what we continue to come down to. You can't just give them a good story in their own personality and their own backstory and their own identity. And you can't make it good and you can't make them look good. You refuse to do it. Marvel, DC, all of them. It's terrible. It's just terrible where we are right now. Freener the Ice Wolf says, well, they already gave us gay Cap America, so they're giving us they them Cap. No shock. I bet $50 their next Cap will be trans. I would not be surprised. John Pearson, good morning. Good morning. Cross purposes says, framed for a crime she didn't commit. The legendary victim's journey. Yeah, it's a victim's journey. It's not a hero's journey anymore. It's so crazy. It's so crazy, y'all. It does not make any sense whatsoever. Speaker for the Dead says, it's better than that horrible purple-faced pear-shaped Wonder Woman that came out with a few months ago. Yeah, she's terrible. John Pearson says, wait, you're Black Jayne? I know, right? I should probably say that like 4 or 5 times because apparently people don't get it. Like, have you been watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Like every episode, they have to remind us Falcon's black. Yeah. I'm the superheroine today. Yay. Criminals. Always is criminals. It's so Fenrir, I don't understand it either. They can't be, why can't they be the person whose superhero power is being rich? Why can't they just be rich and happy? No, God. The LA Underground. Hello, the Balalika remains? I hope I said that right. Is she going to operate in the LA Underground? I don't know. There is really no telling. Dan Rodwell, Storm, is one of my favorite characters in X-Men. Why? Because she's awesome. Sweet powers. Led the X-Men, has so many cool stories and character development during the Chris Claremont run. Storm is a great character. She looks really unique. She's different. She has her own personality, a cool backstory. It's like those days are over. Those days are over. Fenrir says, next thing, all Black characters are going to start eating Caribbean food and only hang around Black people because that's what makes you Black, says the BBC. Yeah, in case you guys aren't following that, I did a video recently. There's a TV show on BBC called Luther. And this guy, he's an investigator, criminal investigator. Really cool character, cool story, cool show. Well, I think one of their highest rated shows. And the diversity chief that they hired said that the character wasn't authentic. He's not authentic because he doesn't eat Caribbean food and he doesn't have Black friends. So he doesn't fit this stereotype. He's not Black enough. Again, I say, just stop already. The hero's journey doesn't exist anymore, says Billy Duncan. He, she is perfect, no flaws, immortal. Exactly. Shane Nolan says, hi, Jane, in chat. I'm late. Oh, you're always on time, Shane. You're always on time. John Pearson says, I love complex characters, great stories. That's all. Why is it so hard? Fenrir says, I miss Silver and Golden Age comics with symbols of hope and a little Bronze Age, too. There's no hope anymore. There's no hope in the world. There's no hope in the world. Yes, everyone, please remember to hit that like button and share. And share. Snorta Poopa says, Hero's Journey Diary. Woke up, had coffee, saved the world, met friends for lunch, shopped for new tights, took a nap. Feeling cute now, might save the world again. Hilarious. Hilarious. Oh, good morning, Bone. Good morning. John Pearson says, absolutely. I can stand it when they change iconic characters. Yeah, create your own new iconic characters. Create your new characters, your new generation. Fenrir says, Black Nick Fury is the son of the original Nick Fury, and Marvel hates explaining this. Comic book industries have a weird problem in portraying families. Exactly. They don't want to do it. They hate it's like they hate the idea of family. Because God forbid you have a straight male and a straight female together who love each other and get married and have babies. God forbid that happens. That can't happen anymore. That's toxic. And if you like it, it's toxic too. You're toxic. And you get canceled. Oh. Cross Purposes says, make a new character. If Falcon retires, have someone he inspired to become the Hawk. There, a new character. Make it well and people get into it. How exactly? Southeastern Kaiju, hello. He says, swapping is straight up appropriation, but it's okay when they do it. It's terrible. But they don't see it. That's the thing. They don't see it. And you're right. They hate family structure, says Shane. Billy Duncan says, I now identify as normal. Keck! Howdy. Howdy. John Pearson says DC and Marvel have ripped off ideas and characters for generations now. They have. And that's why I have to give a little bit of room for the concept of parallel characters. And that's what I call them. I don't know if there's a formal term for it. I give them some leeway. I do. Because I understand. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun, that old saying. But it's almost like there's this wave of it now. Like, they're not even trying. It's just they're not even trying. And that's the problem that I have. It's not even just they're recreating these characters or creating new ones. They're creating worse variants of them. And then they're not creating new, really good ones to replace them. It doesn't make any sense. Hello. Perhaps we're all colorblind. Yeah. And I don't, yeah, that's a whole other, that would get me going for another hour. Criminals or nerds? The thing is, they're seldom nerds. The only time we see them as nerds, they really stand out because it's so rare. They're seldom nerds. They're almost always some kind of criminal. Or they've been wronged in some way. Why can't they just be normal people, though? Why do they have to be super smart? Like, really, to me, the only thing a superhero has to be is super strong, like empowered in some way, and super hopeful, like overly inspirational. That's what I would like to see excess of. I don't need them to be the most brilliant people on the planet, but I also don't need them to be criminals. It's ridiculous. Ultimate Nick Fury is black, and MCU Nick Fury is the best of both worlds, and that he's black and a colonel in the army. I just like that he's a family member. I like that idea. Same thing with not Batwoman, Lord. Wonder Woman and Nubia, right? They're sisters. I like when they're family. Maybe that's just me. But I hate it when they do it this way. Let's see. Toxic. You mean different opinions? It's Billy Duncan. Yeah. If you have a different opinion, you're toxic and you must be shut down. You and your channel, your voice must be silenced. You must be erased from all things. Fenrir says, look, I wouldn't care if Luke Cage retired and inspired a white kid with the same powers as him to take his place. Bulletproof or Power Man, I wouldn't care. Another thing, and I don't know if this has happened, I admit I do not know, but in Black Panther, I wouldn't mind if the White Wolf became the Black Panther. I don't know if that's happened yet. That would be perfectly cool with me. But that's the sort of thing, but again, you have even there a familiar relationship, albeit by adoption, or a close friend, or a mentor-mentee relationship, something like that. But it's just they can't do it. They, especially when it comes to female characters, they don't like this idea of a man mentoring, training, teaching a female. She has to just already be all-powerful, all-knowing. She just is just born perfect. Mary Sue. And they lose so much story in that, they lose so much of a relationship that people actually identify with. It's almost as if they don't understand how relationships work. And they don't understand that it's the relationship between characters that make people care about them. It helps develop who they are as a character, and it helps us care about who they are. I mean, take Rey. if Luke had actually mentored her, if they had that relationship, and Finn for that matter, do you know how much more open to them everyone would have been? Even though it changed the story, even though it is contradicting the lore, or at least taking the lore in a completely different direction, people would have been so much more open to it if they'd shown that respect. And if they'd shown that the building of that foundation for her to take over, or for Finn to take over, for them both to. It's just, they couldn't do it. She has to be an independent woman, all on her own. And she doesn't even hardly rely on her own friends. It's absolutely insane. Drunk 3PO is here. Hello. Thank you for the super sticker. It's a little pear with little hearts. Thank you. I'm so behind in the chat. I just saw it. Y'all, I swear, it's just getting... Oh, hey, Phil. Oh, snap, it's Queen Jayne. Hello. Everyone's saying hey to Drunk. Hey, hello. Malcolm Stark is here. Hello. He says Jessica Jones, the most wonderfully broken hero on TV. You are so right. Dan Rodwell says, Jayne, I posted on Facebook that I was against the trigger warnings on Disney Plus for Jungle Book, as I feel it devalues real racism. A friend told me I was wrong and I need to speak to more Black people. As I need to realize how films like Jungle Book make Black people feel due to the racial stereotypes they contain. Here, argument is we need these trigger warnings as that's what Black people want. Let me be clear. Obviously, I don't speak on behalf of all Black people. I don't. But I have a problem with the trigger warnings because I believe that sometimes it can cause parents and even just viewers to choose not to watch content that could be really good. And like the Jungle Book, for example, simply because of this thing that they're being told, this take on the material, this take on the content by this company that is biased against the content. That's something that I have a real problem with when it comes to trigger warnings, period. That's not to say that they can't tell us what's in it. That's fine. You can do that in the summary or something. But to just label content in such a biased fashion is a problem for me. Now, to get to the point of your question, there are racial stereotypes in a lot of content. And when it comes to Black characters in particular, it's there. I'm the last person to tell you that it's generally not. It actually is. And sometimes I think, honestly, that people don't see it or it doesn't click until someone brings it up, which is why these conversations are really good to have. And on my channel, you'll see videos where I talk about the stereotyping that we see of Black characters in movies and television and comics and things like that. I don't feel hurt by it personally. I think some people do. I think some people internalize it. I think some people internalize racism. I think some people internalize the stereotyping and stuff that you see in media. But personally, I don't. I just criticize it as being lazy and nonsensical because that's what it is. I mean, the new Batwoman is incredibly stereotypical. I'm not hurt when I see it. I get tired of seeing it. I get to a point sometimes where I really do genuinely, like I laugh when I say it, but I do genuinely sometimes feel like I would just rather not see any Black characters than to see what they're doing with them. I mean, I'm being honest with you. That's where I am with it because it is so bad. But that doesn't mean that all of them are bad. There are some good ones. And I think we have a responsibility just as fans generally, and those of us in the quote unquote Black community as well, to call it out and to be critical of it and to express how we feel about it. So that's why these forums are really important. But I do have a problem, and this goes to the third point I want to make about what was said to you. Um, I your friend can tell you they think that you're wrong, but you're still entitled to your opinion and your perspective. And rather than just saying, "Oh, you're just wrong," maybe there should be a conversation about it. Like you guys could talk and they can explain to you why they feel the way they feel, and you can explain why you feel the way you feel. And your opinion may change, it may not, you know, or you may be able to agree to disagree. And I think that's where we need to be today. But unfortunately, that's not where we are. These days, what would happen, Dan, is that someone else on Twitter or wherever, Facebook, would say that your comments are hateful. They would they would label you as an alt-right, and then they would try to get your Facebook page taken down. That's what they do now. It's not just, "Hey, I disagree with you. Here are my thoughts." And then you could say, "Well, let me ask you a question," and then they can answer and they can ask you questions. It's like that doesn't happen these days. People jump immediately to, "I disagree with you, and so you don't have a right to your opinion." And that's sick. It's terrible. And that's also our next topic. That's also our next topic. So I'm gonna catch up to these comments real quick before we move on. Fenrir the Ice Wolf says, "No one would mind the White Wolf as T'Challa's adopted brother. He was raised in the ways of the Panther. I mean, the only reason he couldn't fight for the mantle was because he was on a mission." Right. So do it that way. But, they don't want to have that. They don't want to have you mentoring anyone. John Pearson says heads would roll if the White Wolf became the next Black Panther. But they should do it anyway. If they're going to do this thing, if they're going to do this, then they should do it that way. The problem is that they don't want to do it because you do have those loud mouths who would be upset about it, but you can't make everybody happy, right? But if you're doing all of this spray swapping stuff, then just do it. And do it both ways. I mean, you were doing it both ways before. Why stop now? I think the problem you would have, though, is just the problem that we talked about earlier. They have a familial relationship. So it would be one of those situations where you're acknowledging family and they can't have that either. And I don't know what would make them more mad, that you would have a white Black Panther or that you would have his brother becoming White Panther. It's like, which would it be? Which would make them more mad? Angela Straven, hello, good morning. Fenrir says, but there are rumors that if T'Challa and Shuri died, Wakanda has Hunter the next choice. But let's be honest, that won't happen in modern Marvel. Disney trilogy is garbage. Says Phil. It is, but it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be. That's the problem. It didn't have to be so bad. There was so much hope there. And really, even after The Force Awakens, not to turn this into a Star Wars thing, but after The Force Awakens, there were so many really cool fan theories. After, of what would come next, there were so many cool stories that fans came up with. And yet they completely threw all of that out and said, no, we're going to give you the worst possible story we can come up with. We're just going to trash it. We're going to burn it to the ground. Oh, gosh. I love The Jungle Book, too. I think I still have one, actually. Phil says, as a Black person, I can say Dan's friend is full of crap. I just have, my thing is, I don't mind those discussions. I really think it's important, but the problem I have is with them trying to shut conversation down. That's the problem. Trying to silence people. And Fenrir says, wasn't the Jungle Book actually located in an Indian jungle and Mogul is Indian, not black? This was shown many times on the old Jungle Book movies. This is true. I think they're talking about one of the characters, one of the other characters, but it doesn't, I mean, they don't care. They really don't care. Across Purposes says, only OGs know that Jayne was originally a white redhead, but was recast by YouTube. I think in another life I probably was. If you believe in reincarnation, I was probably a Scottish redhead. Or an Irish one. I actually do have Scottish and Irish roots, so it's very plausible that that's in my DNA. Oh gosh. Shane Nolan says, always thought it was funny. Beyonce did both You Can Pay My Bills and Independent Woman. Hypocrisy. It is, but I think, I wonder if I'm not going to excuse Beyonce. I love Beyonce's music. And I may be biased to some degree because she's Creole. Her family's from here. She actually has Creole and Cajun roots. So I'm a little bit biased in favor of Beyonce. I like her a lot. But I kind of wonder if it's an age thing too, because she has music that the pay my bills, pay my telephone bill thing. She was younger when she did that. So maybe that was kind of a more childish perspective on relationships. And then she went through the independent woman phase. But then she also did put a ring on it, right? So, and it's so funny because she has a very traditional sort of relationship. I mean, she's married, she has children. She comes from a very traditional family, albeit, they have their problems like all families. She has this legacy. So, I don't know. And also, it's acting. Those are different characters. I don't know what her personal opinion has been on it. What do Black people have to do with the Jungle Book? I don't know. I have no idea. I guess because he's brown. Maybe that's what it is. He's just brown. Runner, hello. Good morning, Runner. Good morning. Opinions never. That's so toxic. Finger the Ice Wolf says, the people who get hurt by things on TV are adults that never grew up. I'm Black and I'm writing about an alien civilization where all the characters are straight white people and I don't care. My book that I've been working on for a while now, I'm so bad. I'm like George R.R. Martin at this point when it comes to finishing books. But my character is set in an alternative universe in Western Africa. And I set it there intentionally, actually, because I wanted the characters to have a range of phenotypes. So, like, if you're familiar with Madagascar, Jesus, like from where is it? What's the name of this freaking country? Basically, from Mali and I would say Mauritania to Burkina Faso is basically where the novel I'm working on where it's kind of set. And so the people there, if you're not familiar with them, they range from looking like Mediterranean type, like Southern Europeans, to almost Ethiopian, like dark-skinned, tall people. Like that's the range of phenotypes. And that's the range of what people look like in my story. And what's funny is that even though I set it in that environment and that's what the people look like, I did not lay or create them in my mind in terms of their phenotypes until I began to write them. and they began to sort of unfold for me. And I always thought that was crazy when people said that the characters take on a life of their own. But it's true. When you start writing like a novel, that's exactly what happens. And they started to take shape. At least that's how I write. So they started to take shape in terms of how they look, how they sound, their personalities, and everything. And that's when I began to see them and what they look like. So that's my approach. I don't know. It's my first thing. It's my first novel. Josh from Detroit. Good morning. Hello. Happy Saturday. Billy Duncan says, open dialogue with logic where? Where? Graveside Poet. Good morning. Thank you for the 1999 super sticker. Thank you. Let's see what it is. I'm going to scroll down. Oh, it's a whoop whoop. It's a little controller saying whoop whoop. Thank you. It's so cute. I have not seen that before. Oh my God. Thank you. Oh. John Pearson says, we need to have conversations. If you believe you're always right, you're probably wrong. Being different is what makes us human. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, Phil says, if reincarnation is a thing, then Jayne Theory must have been a very beautiful woman with a cute laugh in all her lifetimes. Thank you. Thank you. Dan Rodwell, thank you for the $2 super sticker. It is a little puppy grinning. He's so cute. Thank you. And the Jelly Cabral, the $2 super sticker. Thank you. And it's a little pair saying, hey, you. Hey, you. Thank you. Franco Blondie, good morning. Good morning. Hello. Hello. Okay, let's see if we've gotten through most of the chat. Dadman Walking 55 says, first time here for live stream, but have seen you elsewhere. I am late, so I'll just say have a great rest of the stream. Thank you and welcome. Welcome. Finra the Ice Wolf says, I think the multiverse is a completely lazy idea and helps writers do stupid things with no repercussions. Basically, yeah. Basically, yeah. John Pearson says, I've said many times that Jayne Theory and Drunk 3PO have the best laughs. Their laughs always make me smile. Aw. I agree too regarding Drunk. All right, so now that we've seen the craziness with this character. Oh, wait, couple things I want to say, a couple more things. The character, okay, so let me see. This is her, right? This is what she looks like. This is the terrible design that I saw on Twitter. And you can see, like, she has to have the purple hair. Why? Why does she have to have the purple hair? And then the jacket, the long jacket thing, which, okay, whatever. It's not a cape. Mm-hmm. The star is sort of off to the side. I don't know why she's wearing the leotard with the turtleneck. It's just so bad. And then, of course, the one leg thing. The one leg thing. Now, as you can see, she also has on these terrible boots. They look like men's boots. And if you look at her from the waist down, this looks like a man's body. I mean, granted, she has a waist at least, but why does she have such huge legs? Why? And the thing is, they try to say that someone suggested that she was inspired by Florence Griffith Joyner. But look at the difference. Look at the difference. Florence looked beautiful. She looked feminine, even though she wore this terrible outfit. And it was I'm sure it was functional. I'm sure it was functional for her running or whatever, but it would still look terrible. It's not cute. And note that her leg is long and lean. It is muscular, but it's also lean. It looks like a woman's leg. Unlike this. So I don't understand it. Now, what's happened since then is that she's been redesigned. She's been redesigned, and the redesign is so cute. I love the redesign, y'all. Look at this. She has her boots up to her thighs. Yes. The suit is awesome. The star is centered. I love that. She has a very long torso. Just cute. And it's superhuman. Yeah, no, she doesn't look like a normal person. She doesn't look like a regular person. She doesn't have to. That's the point. She's a superhero. And look, the hair is cute. And I know people, let me just say, and I said this on Twitter, people are going to complain about the hair. Eurocentric beauty standards. But as someone who has naturally very curly hair, who wears it straight on occasion, this is a look that she can easily pull off with this mechanical thing. I know people haven't heard of it. It's called a blow dryer. Shocking. But a blow dryer and a brush can accomplish this look. A blow dryer and a brush can do this. And a curling iron. And you're good to go. No, it won't last. It won't last. But it is a look that's achievable. So she's got the SJ look to her too. She does. She has like that angry SJW thing. That's why I'm so glad she was redone. I'm so glad she was redone. This is so much better. Right? Isn't it so much better? This also makes you want to read it, right? Like you want to see this comic and what it has inside. What is going on? Phil says, is it bad my mind went dirty when Jen said blow dry with a brush? Oh God. Oh God, that's so funny. But yeah, this is the redesign. This is the much better version of this character. And I do love it. It's a great improvement. But yeah, so that's enough of that. We've been on that for an hour. Let's get to the main topic. Let's get to this cancel culture nonsense, y'all. Because this is where we are now. Erasure. If they don't like what you have to say, if they don't like what you support, your politics, if they don't like who you're friends with, if they don't like what you like or retweet, you get canceled. You not only get canceled, you get completely erased as if you never existed. Why do we give them the power to do that? I'm going to pull up an article talking about some craziness that happened recently, like yesterday, I think. In case you haven't been following. Let me get some water. I'm losing my voice. Okay, so I'm losing the voice. Cavatino Che, hello. He says, just woke up and happy to hear your voice, Jayne Theory. Well, I'm losing it. Jacques Stark says, there's a topic. Finware the Ice Wolf says, screw cancel culture. They can only cancel and destroy us if we let them. We have to stand strong and survive. John Pearson says, ugh, cancel culture is dangerous. Ultimately, we will all get canceled for something. Billy Duncan says, I recently canceled my milk delivery. How terrible of you. Okay, so in case y'all guys, you haven't been following along, this is what's happened. So everybody knows Drunk 3PO. He's in the chat, I believe. So he and Gina Carano were interacting on Twitter. He ultimately did an interview with her live on his channel. And after she was just fired via social media from The Mandalorian and Disney, or they chose not to renew her contract, and they began to erase her from everything, right? She did an interview, and Drunk was inspired to create this label, the Welcome to the Rebellion label on his store, on his Teespring. And consequently, it was immediately attacked. It was immediately attacked, and people started to flag it. And the result, I think, initially was that his C3PO merchandise was taken down. Let's see. You're here. Yay. If you want to come on, I sent you the link on Twitter. So you do have the link if you want to join in. But they took down his C3PO inspired art, which, okay, fine, whatever. You could argue copyright, whatever. But it didn't stop there. It didn't stop there. They continued to flag until they were able to get the entire store pulled. The entire store. And here's the problem. And this is why I've said before, there has to be some sort of repercussions for this. And there has to be some alternative platform or alternative company for people with independent thought. Because if we don't have that, we're vulnerable, all of us, to having our channels demonetized, to having our stores pulled, to having our jobs disappear, getting fired, all because a group of petty people on Twitter organized a mass flag campaign. Now, mass flagging in and of itself, here's the thing, and this is why it's possible, why it exists. I understand that a lot of these companies, these are, Facebook, Twitter, Teespring, whatever, they don't have unlimited staff. And people are do terrible things. People may post or upload things that are truly terrible. Pornography, things that are illegal. That happens. And what I think they rely on the audience, their users, to quote unquote mass flag those things. And they probably have some sort of mechanism built in whereby those things can be pulled immediately when they don't have staff available to review. What should happen from there is that a human being looks at it, determines whether the thing should be pulled, and then puts it back up almost immediately if it's not bad. That's how it should work. That's how it's supposed to work. That's the purpose of allowing this to even be a thing. But instead, what's happening is that Twitter mobs have learned that they can weaponize this procedure or this technique to pull sites, probably automatically, to pull pages, to pull stores. And then the companies, even though they see what's happening, and they do, knowing full well that it's unfair, that it's malicious, they know the intent behind it. They know that what's up isn't disrespectful, it isn't racist, it isn't harmful in any way, it's not illegal, it's none of these things. Simply because it's being mass flagged repeatedly, they will just shut the entire site down. Either that, or they themselves are biased and don't want it on their platform. Now, the result of this is what? One, you're giving power to these mobs to target anybody, because it's not going to end just with conservative voices. It's not going to end just with the petty grievances that they're going with presently. Oh, you didn't like The Last Jedi. Oh, you like Gina Carano. It's beyond that now. They will target you for fun. They will target you because they're petty like that. And by companies giving into it, they're giving them power. They're emboldening this behavior, and it's only going to make it worse for them, because they're going to see it with not just this creator. They're going to see it with every other creator, because they're going to, if they've done this successfully with Drunk 3PO, they're going to do it with all of us who have Teesprings. Just like the rewriting Ripley hit piece, it's the same thing. They want to deplatform, and they will go site by site. They want to pull your stores. They will go store by store. They want to get you kicked off of social media. They'll go page by page. This is what they do. So it'll never stop. And the companies are only creating a headache for themselves by allowing it. Billy Duncan with a £5 super sticker. Thank you. Let me scroll down, see what it is. It is a little puppy laughing. Thank you. And Mr. Tickletrunk with a $2 Canadian super sticker. It's a little puppy farting hearts. Thank you. Thank y'all so much. Southeastern Kaiju said it best. Southeastern Kaiju said Thor said it best. SJWs are so small and petty. Shane Nolan says, wasn't Welcome to the Rebellion a line from Rogue, one Caspian to Jyn? It may have been, but it's such a generic phrase. That's not something that's copyrighted. So I don't believe that that's it. Anybody can say Welcome to the Rebellion. And some of them, I think, just said the Rebellion. It didn't even say, not all of them even said Welcome to the Rebellion. So it's nonsensical. And then to make it worse, a lot of the accounts that are doing this, a lot of the accounts that are mass flagging these creators are not even real accounts. That's the other thing. They're not real. A lot of them are maliciously created troll accounts. They're duplicate accounts. These are people who have nothing better to do all day than sit up and create accounts and then send those accounts after a given target. I've seen it. You've seen it. I mean, it's no coincidence when you have 5 or 6 people suddenly show up harassing you on your whatever your platform happens to be, and you checked and look at them, and all of them were newly created. All of them have maybe 1 follower, and or very similar layouts or very similar images. It's not a coincidence. You know that it's the same person. And they probably have bots and things they've created as well. But the companies are caving to this. John Pearson says, it's truly sad. People need to have a life. Billy Billy Duncan says, perhaps we've let the internet get out of control in the last 25 years. Dan Rodwell says, totally agree with your take. When companies submit to the mob, that's the problem. If John gets an email back saying, after personal review, we will continue to keep store gone, big problem. I think that's what happened. Let's get into this because they do have, they do cover it quite well here. So this is what John had posted. He said, for those wanting a Welcome to the Rebellion shirt, it appears the store was flagged again, and this time they got the entire store taken down. I've sent a message to Teespring, but have yet to hear from them. This is what his page said after they took it down. And then Teespring's response. This is their response. That they strive to create the best community possible for our fans and creators. If we see that your account has violated any of our policies multiple times, we reserve the right to disable your entire account at our own discretion. This is, and what's so bad about it, that not only do they not tell you why they did it, they're not going to tell you why, because there is no reason. There's no good reason. But they don't have to. That's the messed up part of this, because whenever this happens, people begin to discuss the real world consequences. People want to know, do they care? Do they care that there's a loss of income here? Do they care that, in this case, a loss of potential donations to charities? Do they care about the emotional distress they cause the creators who experience this, who wake up one morning and their page is gone or their page is demonetized? Is there any repercussion for it in terms of a solution? Is there anything the creator can do? And the problem is that oftentimes there actually isn't. There oftentimes isn't. And the reason why is because when you look at these companies, and this is why it's so important that we look at the terms of service. But when you look at the terms of service, I'm going to go to the one on Teespring. You will see where it says termination. Let me make it bigger. Teespring, in its sole discretion, may suspend or terminate your account or any part of it, or use of the Teespring service, and remove and discard any content within the Teespring service for any reason. Further, by using their service, you agree that Teespring will not be liable to you or any third party for any termination of your access to the Teespring service. This is what we're dealing with. This is the reality of our situation and the precarious nature of what we do here on YouTube, on Teespring, on Twitter, on Facebook. All of them reserve in their terms of service, which is a contract. The terms of service is a contract that you're agreeing to when you use their service. We're agreeing to this, that they can pull it without notice, without reason, without explanation. And there's nothing with respect to them that we can do about it. Now, is there something we can do at all legally? Sure. It could be possible. It could be possible to try to subpoena the information about the individuals who conducted the mass flag operation directly from the platform. It could be possible to sue those individuals for the mask flag effort, particularly if you can show that it was malicious, right? Which it was, obviously. The problem isn't how many people are going to do that. How many people are going to take money out of their pocket and use it to hire a lawyer, thousands of dollars, and go to court, and you have to fight with Teespring to get the information, right? You have to fight with Teespring to get it, because as soon as you file your subpoena, they're going to file a motion to quash it, which means they're going to try to get it thrown out so that they don't have to reveal the identities of these people. But even if you get past that hurdle and you get their identities, then you probably have to hire some sort of forensic person who can find out and trace who they are, because they're not using, most likely, and many of them aren't using their real names. And a lot of these accounts are multiple accounts anyway. But you have to then hire an expert to go through the data and identify who these people are, maybe even private investigators, and then sue them directly, because they can be held responsible for what they've done. The mass flag, I'll say this again, those who are engaging in mass flagging, those people can be held responsible for it. It's just an incredibly difficult process to try and get it. They're not using their real, Max says. They they will be using their real names. They're not that clever. Some of them do because they think they can hide behind it. Midnight's Edge After Dark says chances are I can't do shit because it's in their contract. The contract with Teespring, though. You have the right, under common law and civil law, if you're in Louisiana, to file a lawsuit against anyone who harms you, period. Let's be very clear here. You can't contract your way out of that. But you can say, and you can contract a situation like this where they don't have to host you. And those are the contracts we enter into. And again, this is the danger. And this is why it's so important that, to me, a better solution is making sure we have alternative platforms out there. I don't know how to create the equivalent of a Teespring, but somebody can. Somebody who respects the concept of free speech. Someone who wants other voices, other opinions heard. Because this season, it wasn't even a controversial page. Like, it wasn't a controversial store. This is essentially a fan. It's a fan store. So even if you're a fan of a character or an actor that's been canceled now, what this says is you can't even create fan stuff for them without risk of losing everything. Because these companies will cave 100% of the time. Midnight's Edge After Dark Tom says, yeah, Teespring Legalese probably covers them. It doesn't. Because there's no contract entered into with them. It doesn't cover them. Midnight's Edge After Dark says, that's what I'm saying. They probably have they probably waive any responsibility in their contract with people who use it. They can't. Some things cannot be waived. Some rights can't be waived. That's one of them. You can absolutely sue them because it's a consequence. Losing your channel or your page or your store on Teespring as a result of malicious behavior is a consequence of defamation. You can't waive that. You do sign a lot away. Not that, though. Because it would be an unlawful contract at that point. And you can't engage in an unlawful contract. Midnight's Edge After Dark says, I don't agree with it, just saying these companies always cover their ass. Well, they can cover theirs, but they can't cover the wrongdoing of third parties. That's the point here. They cannot cover the wrongdoing of third parties. They cannot cover in their contract the defamation of third parties. Shane Nolan says, is it a fair contract if you have no choice or if the contract contradicts the Constitution? The problem that you have is that wouldn't be the case here. One, because you do have a choice. You can choose not to use their services, right? And two, it doesn't really contradict the Constitution because it's a private entity. Yeah, exactly, Tom. That's what I was saying. You would have to get them via a subpoena. So what you would do is you would sue the individuals who are responsible for your platform being pulled. And you don't know them initially, right? So you would sue them as, John Doe or whatever. And then in your lawsuit, you would subpoena from Teespring or whatever entity the information. And that's what I was getting into. Then you got another fight because now you have to fight them to get the information. And you may succeed. I don't think they would have grounds to keep that information. It's not proprietary information of any kind. I don't think they would be able to keep that information secret. But then from there, you'll probably have to hire someone to decipher the data. Because what they would do, they would be ordered to deliver the data, but it would probably be in some very difficult to understand format. Exactly. And Mr. Chickletrunk, hello. He says their service, their rules. You have no rights to use their service if they don't want, if they own it. The law would protect them first. Yeah. Because this is the thing. It's not a lease. See, this is the thing I think where people get confused. You're not leasing the space from them. It's not a lease. It's not like you're leasing a home. If you're leasing an apartment, you can't just be randomly evicted. There are specific laws that prohibit you from being kicked off your property for no reason. But that same protection doesn't apply to these types of platforms. And that's an important distinction. Tina Bojan, hello. Isaac the Moist is here. Atomic Slash, hello. Oh, she did a redraw. Awesome. I need to check that out. Amber, Kashyyyk Queen is here. Hello. Dan Rodwell says, agreed. We need alternative platforms and need to protect ourselves. However, it's getting so bad that it's not becoming enough. Parler, perfect example. Perfect example. Parler was an alternative platform, but they weren't on their own, I guess, server. I have no idea how that works, but apparently they were on something else. And that's the problem. We need to have, as an alternative, a thing with its own independent infrastructure. We need our own infrastructure for social media and for these sorts of things, not just, our own version of YouTube or our own version of Twitter. It has to be its own platform, maybe its own version of Google. I don't know how it works, but that's what's needed. And it's easier to do. Someone brought up Rush Limbaugh. I think it's easier to do in radio as well. But it's virtual. Yeah, Mr. Tickle Trunk probably was using Google services. We need to make our own internet, says Dan Rodwell. Parler's down again. That's it. We have to have our own web service. We have to have our own internet infrastructure. We have to have our own foundation. Because if not, we're going to continue to be subject to this. And they don't see that it doesn't stop with us. Like, they don't understand that it's not going to end there. All they're doing is opening the door for government to be able to use all of these platforms to simply shut everybody down all at once when they want to. We've seen this happen in Egypt when they just cut off the internet. They're opening the door to that. And it can't be what they want. They're opening the door to their own voices to be silenced. And it can't be. Like, they don't have any perspective on the slippery slope that they're creating. Billy Duncan says, I'm going mad. That's all I know. Shay Nolan says the choice part is an issue because the social media companies are working in concert, and a private company still has regulations that they must follow. And a t-shirt with printed words is speech. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the things that often comes up is the platform versus the publisher idea. And that entire conversation typically comes from one statute in particular. Let me pull it up. This is from the Communications Decency Act, Section 230. I'm just going to pull it up so y'all can see we always talk about it, but seldom do you actually see people take a look at it so you can see what it actually says. All right, so let me get this off of here. So this is the statute. And the whole point of it, and this is where I think there's confusion. On the one hand, the whole point is to provide social media platforms a kind of immunity against being held responsible when third parties, users on their platforms, post unlawful content, right? Now, my position is that they wouldn't be held responsible anyway, because every individual should be held responsible for what they post. My position is that it's not even necessary to do that. But the companies don't want to be sued and have to go through that whole process of proving they're not responsible every time this happens. So they were able to negotiate this immunity in those instances, basically protecting them from being held responsible for what other people post, right? And the reason why government got involved in the first place, and you always have to be suspicious whenever government gets involved in anything, especially involving private companies and deal making like this, and immunity, which I'm against immunity, period. I don't like the idea of immunity in our law in any respect. I think there's a reason we have courts. We have an agreement, a social contract, a social compact, whatever you want to call it, that if someone wrongs you, you can take them to court. No one should have blanket immunity. No one should have any kind of immunity, in my opinion. But when it comes to government, of course, they have it. And they dole it out when it's convenient for them. So the reason behind this, the whole point, was on the surface level, we want to protect companies from being held responsible when users of their platforms post illegal content. But at the same time, the political side of this was that they wanted to make sure they had unfettered access and their supporters to political speech. So we'll give you blanket immunity, but we want to be able to use you to say whatever we want to say. Right? And at the same time, these companies were promoting this idea that, oh, but for this protection, we're going to be sued forever. We're going to be held responsible. So give us this immunity, please. We'll let you do whatever you want. And they're both playing each other, but the government is playing to win. Because the truth is, you're not going to be held responsible, not at the end of the day, with what someone else does or says. If I'm on YouTube, or let's just say Twitter, if I'm on Twitter and I post something illegal, like, I don't know, let's take 230 off the table. Let's say it doesn't exist. And I'm on Twitter, blah, 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 doing whatever. And I post something horrendous, a murder. I murder someone live on Twitter. Do you think that the police are going to go arrest Twitter? Are they going to go arrest the CEO of Twitter? No. They're going to arrest me. I'm going to be held responsible. It was nonsense from the beginning. It was never about any of this. And so now you have the platforms themselves who have their terms of service that basically say they can do whatever they want because they're a private entity and it's their platform. And then you have, through the government, this blanket immunity, which basically says that they're protected from being sued because of what other people post. And even if you do find some grounds to sue them for, something that you can take them to court on, guess what? You're often subject, because of your contract, because of the terms of service, to venue restrictions, meaning you have to sue them where they say they can be sued. So you can't just go up the street to your parish courthouse and file your lawsuit. You have to sue them in the case of Teespring, in California, in a California court. Oftentimes they have an arbitration agreement written into their terms of service, which means you can't even go straight to court. You have to negotiate some sort of settlement first, or at least attempt to. And then you have the whole expensive litigation, which we talked about before. So all of these things, the terms of service, the protection, the immunity, the court process, it makes it virtually impossible to do anything. The only true solution that I see is that we have to not just have backups, but we have to have our own structures in place. But let's see what you guys have to say, because I have talked enough. Eric K, hello. He says, make sure you smash that like button and show Jayne Theory some love. Please do. Please do. Southeastern Kaiji says, the woke are why we can't have nice things. Jayne says, Google is clearly a monopoly. It has over 70% market share. Standard Oil was broken up for having over 40% under monopoly laws. William Wilburn, hello. He says, just home from a video night with some friends. Hope you'd still be on. Yeah, we're here. Mr. Tickletrunk says, the issue is that everyone is lazy. Google and Apple stores are convenient, so people don't even learn. You can install an app from anywhere, download it from a website, etc. It's just an executable file. It's about it, people being lazy, but it's also about knowledge. A lot of people don't know these things. I didn't know about Parler until right before it ended up getting canceled. John Pearson says, I'm so sorry, I have to run. Love this content and you, Jayne Theory. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. We have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's sad. It's insane. It's sad. It doesn't make any sense. But we don't have a whole lot of protections. Isaac the Moy says, they make it very difficult here in California to sue anyone that's friendly with big government. Cavatino Che says, Jayne Theory is similar to the story of the bastard who violated and murdered his girlfriend on a Facebook Live video stream. Social media platforms should be regulated like utility companies. Here's the thing. I disagree. And maybe it's the libertarian in me, because I'm much more of a libertarian. I don't like the idea of government regulating private business. I don't like the idea of government manipulating private businesses. I much more prefer informed consumers, and I much more prefer a fair playing field. Meaning you don't have to host us. Okay, fine. Okay, you don't have to host me. But I would like for those who have different opinions or who respect different opinions to have alternative places they can go to. So don't eliminate the opportunity for other people to have their places for their voices. And that's not to say people should be able to say all kinds of crazy stuff like, that's racist or whatever, but people should be able to have their space to say if they have a different opinion or a different take. That's all. But that's the thing they want to remove. They don't want to allow discourse. And those who say, "Oh, we'll just take away 230." It's really not going to punish them by taking this away, except that it will perhaps cause them to be in court more, but they'll win those lawsuits. All this says, and you can look under 230 section C1, no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as a publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. But this is common sense. This is common sense. This wasn't necessary. It's just, it's smoke and mirrors. And, others have brought up, the other thing that people talk about is the free flow of information, right? Let me bring up a case that's referred to quite a bit as to what government can do. And this is what I mean by regulation. Let me pull it up. So there was a case called Turner Broadcasting System versus the FCC. And what it says is the First Amendment's command that government not impede the freedom of speech does not disable the government from taking steps to ensure that private interests not restrict, through physical control of a critical pathway of communication, the free flow of information and ideas. This is the other thing people often refer to in looking for help, looking for some solution for how we can stop these platforms from doing this. The problem is that there's such wiggle room here, and there always is when it comes to the Supreme Court. But critical pathways of communication. That's the wiggle room. Is Twitter a critical pathway of communication? Is Facebook a critical pathway of communication? Is Teespring? Arguably they aren't. That would be the argument. And then it also goes back to what I said before about whether you want the government doing that. Whether you want if you own a platform, let's say you create a platform. Do you want the government telling you who you must allow on it? I wouldn't want that. It's a double-edged sword. So this is the conundrum that we find ourselves in. And cancel culture will continue to win. They will have these battles that they win. Not necessarily the war, but they will have battles that they win in pulling channels and pulling stores and pulling content and getting people canceled and getting people demonetized and getting people pulled off of social media. They will continue to win those battles so long as they're given the opportunity to do so due to the limited nature of the platforms available and a lack of infrastructure, it seems, now on the right, but even just generally for those who have different opinions that are different from the mainstream, that are different from the far left. So to me, the solution isn't necessarily through the courts, even though there is an approach there, which I talked about earlier. There is a path there to handle this through the courts. But to me, my take is that the only way we're going to be able to put a stop to cancel culture is if and when we stop depending so much, stop relying so much, stop trusting these companies so much with our content, with our communication, and with our faith that they'll do the right thing. Isaac the Moy says the problem is eventually big government will do anything and everything to get involved in a media that it doesn't have its tentacles in. You're absolutely right. And I think that's why they approved 230 in the first place. They saw it as a pathway to engaging themselves in platforms that before were just amongst people, amongst regular people. There weren't if the blue check marks were on there, they were on there as their own person. They weren't representing a particular political viewpoint. But now it's like these platforms have become tools, extensions of government, if you will. And I think that was the entire point. Dan Ramo says, I like Poland's ideas. The government will fine a social media company if they ban anyone for using their platform who hasn't broken the law. Almost like a discrimination fine. I like that. I would only agree with that, though. Again, libertarian speaking. I would only agree with that if the users were paying. If you had essentially a lease arrangement, then I could be okay with that. I could be okay with that. But not the way they're currently, not the way I just wouldn't have a generic fine. Because I don't think anybody should be forced to interact with or allow someone in their space. I've never agreed. Frankly, even during the civil rights movement stuff, I had a problem, frankly, with how they were. That's a whole nother topic, but I don't think the government should do that. Let consumers choose, but give us the opportunity for true choice. Let the consumer choose, but give us the opportunity for a free and actual choice. Shane Nolan says, wasn't the 230 thing at the time they wanted to allow the platforms to grow in their infancy in the 90s? But that was a long time ago, and they clearly abused their status. I don't believe that's what it was about because of the reference. The reason I don't believe that was what it was about is because the government never does anything altruistically. Like, the government could care less if we communicate with one another. In fact, that's the last thing they want. I think it was solely because they wanted an in. They wanted their own way of using these platforms, which is what's happened. So that's my take on this. I really don't think we're going to be able to get through this unless and until we have some assurances that we can do it without risk of being pulled for no apparent reason or for no reason whatsoever. And that's going to require that we obviously support one another as much as we can. But also, we do need people who know how to do these things to create platforms, the foundations for them, independent of the mainstream entities. And I don't know how that happens. I don't know how we get there, but we definitely have to. Dan Ronald says, if a company is racist and or discriminates against a protected characteristic, would you support the company's right to do so? Isn't that what the civil right is about fighting? My take on it is not a popular take. So prepare yourselves. My take on this is not a popular take, but if a company was racist, like if their policies, we don't want Black people shopping here, rather than forcing them to let Black people shop there, I would want to just know they don't want me to shop there. And I wouldn't shop there. There were some things that were done during the civil rights era that I do question. And again, we're getting into a whole nother day of discussion, but I kind of feel what it did was it made racism, which was at that time much more overt, much more subtle, which then itself allowed for people to manipulate what it means in these terms and to weaponize them. Basically, we ended up where we are today because we allowed racists to hide behind laws. And consequently, it hurt a lot of Black businesses that were filling in the gaps. If y'all remember, in the I think it was in the 60s and 70s, you saw a very narrow, quote unquote, race gap between white and Black earnings. And I think a lot of it had to do with because you had those businesses that said, for example, if you're Black, you have to come in through the back, right? Or we're not going to serve you or whatever. And so you had this huge growth in Black-owned businesses that were filling in the gap. We were saying, okay, they won't let you shop over there. Come on over here. They want you to walk in through the back door. Come on through our front door. You're welcome. And that's where people went. It's like, and then you forced integration through this regulation, and you allowed racists to continue to be racist, but just now profit from it by keeping it hidden or subtle. And Black businesses fell apart. So it's just like it's I know mine is an unpopular opinion on this point, but I just think that integration probably would have happened more organically through competition. And the perfect example of that, the perfect thing I would say is busing. Remember busing? The bus boycotts? When they were telling Black people, oh, you have to sit in the back of the bus or you have to get up and stand and all that. And so Black people are like, okay, fine, we'll walk. With no apparent end in sight. Or Black people were just like, we'll ride together. We'll, whatever. We'll buy new shoes and we'll walk. And that happened for so long that the cities that made money off of these people but didn't want to respect them said, you know what? Now that we think about it, we've had some time to reconsider. Come on, get on the bus and have a seat wherever you want. Mr. Tickle Trunk, have a good day. I think that would have happened across the board. I really do. It may have taken more time. But I think you would have begun to see when people, because at the end of the day, the only color that really matters, that's only ever mattered in any civilization at the end of the day, is resources, right? Money. The green. And people who start losing money, because where you saw a lot of this was ironically enough in towns that had large Black populations. So just imagine what would happen if the Black people were just like, you know what, no, fine, we'll eat at home. We have McDonald's at home. If everyone did that, they would have reconsidered, and it would have been by choice, not by force. And I think that would have been a better approach. And I say that too as someone from Louisiana, where we saw that happening. We saw that here. And I think I think that also was happening in the East Coast as well. But in Louisiana, we had communities that were completely integrated for decades. And I'm serious, you had lending institutions that were owned by Black people that white and Black people frequented. I kid you not. You had churches where Black and white people attended, and they sat wherever they wanted. You had businesses that Black and white people went through, So but that happened over time, and granted, it was a different culture, but still. It was a different culture. It took time, but it happened. And I really believe it would have happened here too. But that's just my take on that. That's my take on that. I'm against the idea of government getting too involved in telling companies what to do or say, who to accept, who to allow in. And because I'm a business owner. I'm a business owner. And I don't like government doing that. People don't understand that kind of stuff can backfire. All this stuff you want government to do, all this control you want to give government, all this regulation you want them to do, because you want to send government on a mission. You want to sick government on another person. You don't understand that it can turn around and bite you back. That's what I wish people would keep in mind when they try to use the government, when they give government all of this authority. You give them all this authority because you think it's funny, because you think it gets at the person you don't like. And I see it on the left and the right. But you don't understand how it can be used against you. I'll give you an example. There was a quote-unquote anti-riot bill passed in Florida. It sounds great. If you participate in a protest and stuff is burned or looted or whatever, you participate in that, you get a harsher penalty in sentencing. It sounds great. Here's what I say. We have laws on the books for theft. We have laws on the books for murder. We have laws on the books for property damage. What you're doing is allowing the government to create harsher penalties for you in the instance you believe you need to take some action as an American on the streets against your government, which is something, by the way, your founding fathers expected you to do someday, if necessary. Think about what you're doing. It's people are weaponizing. We're allowing politicians to weaponize our emotions and grant them greater authority and power where it needn't exist. Anytime a politician comes out and says, hey, we got a new law, our instinct should be no. The first thing to come to mind should be no, absolutely not. Why? Why do we need a new law? We have a law for everything. We don't need enhanced anything. We don't need hate crime laws. Again, that's another unpopular opinion. But we don't need extra laws on top of the laws we have. We need to get to enforcing the laws we have instead of giving government more power. If anything, if I ran for office, what I would run on is, here's a list of laws I'm going to repeal. All of this duplication, all of these contradictory laws, all of these things that give government way more power over people, regulating individuals. I want to pull all of those out. If you're not murdering, raping, robbing, destroying someone else's property, like basic laws, that's all we need, really. That's all we need. And we need to, penalties should vary depending on your individuality and your criminal history, all those things that you take into consideration when it comes to sentencing. Instead of giving government more and more authority to go after our perceived political enemies. But that's my take. That's my take. Hey, y'all can let them play this game with you if you want to. I don't think it's going to end well. The Jelly Cabral says, I agree. If I'm not wanted, I just leave and go somewhere else. If I need the services and the company don't want my money, I learn how to do it and keep my money. Later, I can be a services provider. Exactly. Isaac the Moy says, if only people had taken the Malcolm X route instead, I think so. Dan Rodwell said, Jayne, you are very much a libertarian and seem to believe very much in the power of capitalism and the free market. However, I'm a bit more skeptical around human nature. Michael Beacom, hello. He says, merit is the only standard that counts. Everything else is misguided. Here's the thing about that. Merit, it is. I think ideally you're right. But the reality is it's never been that way. It's always been based on who you know. Advancement to heights, and I mean to high levels, has almost always depended on who you know. Shane Nolan says, yes, but segregation was a government policy that they introduced. It wasn't natural or business didn't ask for it. That's a good point. That is a good point. But I think what happened is often the case. It became a policy because it was basically codifying what was happening. Now, sometimes government policy is a reaction to what's happening, but I think in that instance, it was codifying it. A reaction to it would be the miscegenation laws. And I know I mispronounced that word, but the laws against interracial marriage were reactionary. Because what happened, if you don't know the history behind that, the early part of this country's history, you had a pretty significant population of free Black people. At that time, they were called free people of color because they included some Native Americans and stuff. And you had, former slaves and, free people. And you had these servants, like from Ireland and other parts of Europe, but heavily from Ireland. And these people were mixing. I wish I could find where I read it. There was a quote, a contemporaneous quote, that basically said that their concern was that these people were mixing so much that they would become their own people. There was a concern that there was so much interracial marriage happening that they would become their own thing. And that concerned people. So what you began to see, and there were other reasons too, but what you began to see after that were laws that prohibited or punished interracial marriages. Even though prior to that time, they were very common. Dan Rodwell says, why are they not enforcing those laws already in place? Jayne, you have a very intelligent take on things. Your views in politics represents me much more than any white woke person. They don't, you know why they don't enforce the laws already in place? I think it's because politicians want to run on something. And what they run on is division. They run on division. So we create a new law that's anti whatever, the other group is or what they're doing. And that's that's a success for them. They get to rile people up. But I would never get excited over a new law. Never. I think if people just, one day when you're bored, grab, or you can go online to your state legislative website and just go through some of the laws, go to the criminal section and just go through the laws and ask yourself if that's the world you want to live in. It's like if you go through some of that stuff, you would be amazed. You may even find that you're a criminal. So much stuff is criminalized today. People don't even realize it. We've given them so much power. A lot of these laws don't even make sense. They exist to prop up the local government and court system financially. Or they exist to ultimately, in some instances, take away your rights once you're convicted, like your gun rights, if you're convicted of a felony. And I know when you hear that, your instinct may be, oh, well, if you're convicted of a felony, you shouldn't have a gun. But think about it this way. There are a lot of nonviolent offenses that are felonies. There are a lot of offenses, crimes, things that are crimes that have nothing to do with gun ownership or gun use. But if you get it, you lose your right to own a gun. You could lose your right to vote. So just think about that for a second. We've gone so far over the deep end here. We've allowed government to, in some instances, take away our guns and take away our right to vote if we make the mistake of committing a nonviolent offense, like having too much marijuana in our car or something like that. Like, I kid you not. That's where we are, man. It's just think about this stuff. Y'all need to think about this stuff before you go. And I don't care if you like the politician or you don't, if it's left or right. Before they start making these laws, ask yourself, is there already an existing law? And do I want to give the government this much more power? Yeah, the sexual harassment laws too. You already have laws on the books against harassment. New law that makes it easy to remove old bad laws, right? Michael Beacom says politicians want you to be weak as an individual and as a group and feel we need them. Exactly. When they come out talking about these new laws, it's like, oh, I'm trying to help you, you poor thing, you. You poor thing, you. You need more government protection. No, I don't. Actually, I really don't. Dan Rodwell says, this is deep. We go deep here. This happens on Saturdays. Oh. The only way to remove someone's right to vote is if you have removed someone's ability to vote. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. If you kill someone, yes, you don't get to vote anymore. Okay, fine. But all these other things, like some of the things that you can lose your rights over are just ridiculous. I think we need to sometimes ask ourselves, should this be a law? Go through your state's laws and ask yourself, should this be a law? Then make a list and write your Congress people and tell them this shouldn't be a law. This is stupid. This is a waste of my taxpayer dollars. I have potholes out here. Louisiana is the worst. We have our streets just ridiculous. Our streets are a joke. Our streets are a joke. We shouldn't even have anything. Our legislators shouldn't be allowed to do anything else until they fix our streets. Dan Ronald says, we go deep here. Your toxic film co-host would have ripped you apart for that comment. I know. I didn't realize that as soon as I said it. Oh my god. Okay, guys, it's been 2 hours and about 15 minutes, so I'm going to call it a wrap here. I'm going to call it a wrap here. I just wanted you guys to be aware of some of the craziness that's going on. This stream, I'll probably leave up. Usually I take them down, but I'll probably, since I haven't done many videos in the last 2 weeks, I'll probably leave this one up. And I've been super busy. That's why the real life work situation is keeping me from doing too much in terms of individual commentary videos. But I hope to get back to that soon. Don't give up on me. Don't unsubscribe. The videos will be coming soon. And I still have my reviews on Sundays for sure. Tomorrow at 6 Central, Nina Infinity's channel, we'll be getting into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Breakdown of the latest episode. So definitely check that out. Subscribe to Drunk 3PO, support his various channels, and Nina Infinity and myself and everybody in our community. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks for hanging out. This was so much fun. Cross Purposes, thank you. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He says, see you all next Saturday. Aloha all. Thanks for joining us. All right, guys, I'm going to call it. See you next time. Oh, wait, there's a super sticker. The Julie Cabral with a $3 super sticker. Thank you. It is a little pear with a thumbs up. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, guys. Let me see if I can get this going. See you next time. Bye.